The Indian healthcare industry was majorly affected due to the COVID-19 pandemic. While the deadly pandemic created a need for better healthcare infrastructure, it also brought endless opportunities for several healthcare technology startups. On this World Health Day, we at MediCircle present to you the World Health Day Awareness Series, wherein we are interviewing the healthcare startups. Yes, you have heard it right, not the healthcare professionals, but this time we are interviewing the healthcare startups for a change, which have actually shined through this pandemic, and they have contributed a lot to make people healthy through their innovative startups and the products and services what their companies offer. So I'm Smita. Hi, and today our guest for the talk is Amit Malik. Amit is the founder and CEO of InnerR, which is a healthcare technology company looking to disrupt the psychological wellness and mental health provision. He has over 2 decades of experience working in mental health globally as a psychiatrist, senior clinical and professional leader, and an entrepreneur. Amit is also an extensively published author. He has co authored and co edited around 6 textbooks and has been routinely published in several international academic journals. Amit strongly believes that technology must be leveraged to overcome all barriers to high quality mental health access, particularly in undeserved countries like India. Hi, Amit. Welcome to MediCircle.
Thank you, Smita. Thank you for having me.
So, Amit, to begin with, I would be just referring the IBEF report here. So, the IBEF estimates the Indian healthcare industry to be worth $372 billion by 2022. And healthcare is like the most possible and the most varied sector with different startups categorized across like telemedicine, online pharmacy, personal health management, fitness and wellness, then from home healthcare to medical devices to diagnostics to genomics, biotech R&D, there are so many. So in your view, how are the Indian startups contributing to the economic and social growth of India?
I think let me just start at talking about the two levels, right? So if you just think about how startups contribute to economic growth first, and then we can talk about healthcare startups more specifically in a second. I think it's about creating employment and opportunity, right? Right. So how do you how India is a young country. The Prime Minister often talks about our economic dividend and the need to be self-reliant as a country, right? And how do you create an ecosystem where you create more high quality employment opportunities for the highly educated youth in this country, right? And that is, I think that's where, alongside more established industries, the startup ecosystem has a huge role to play, right? Now coming specific, sorry, go on.
Yes, please.
And coming more specifically to healthcare now, right? I think the if you think about India as a healthcare economy, right, we are woefully behind, right? In terms of, if you look at our per capita spend based on our GDP, or if you look at how much we spent on per person in health in terms of healthcare, not just the government but also the country, right? It's way behind most other large countries of the world from that perspective. Actually, most of the small countries of the world. So there is a lot, and what that translates into, if you think about it, is poor health outcomes, right? Which means that people are living less healthier lives, which means they are able to contribute less to their families and their local economies, and which means that the overall productivity in the long term of the country and the ecosystem goes down significantly. So any solution that is trying to create a degree of health outcome improvement, right, is going to eventually add to the overall economic and social development of the country. That's the first point to make, right? The second point is that as you think about in India that's evolving, right? Which means that India that's progressing, India that's becoming more confident, India that's demanding better things for themselves, right? People are looking and saying, why don't I have the best in every part, right? Now, if you look at healthcare, we have some of the best doctors in the world, right? And having said that, I worked in many parts of the world. We also have some of the best doctors in the world are Indian, right? But our health, but that only is available in pockets, right? For most of the country, the overall access to high quality healthcare is very, very poor. So again, if technology and innovation can somehow provide that access, it again contributes to social and economic development from that perspective, right? So that's the second point I was going to make. And third is by providing employment opportunities to a range of professionals, right? We produce a large number of psychologists every year, but there are very few structured employment opportunities for them in this country. So a lot of them go into a lot of other professions, right? Instead of actually. So as an example, if we believe that if we do our job well, we'll be able to create large number of structured training and employment opportunities for psychologists tomorrow, right? So a healthier, happier India will be more productive India. A vibrant startup ecosystem in the healthcare space will create more employment opportunities for a range of professions, right? And I think it will be a significant contributing pillar to the growth of this country.
Charlie. So, like as a healthcare entrepreneur, what changes did you experience in especially the post-COVID era? In the perspective of your customers' approach, because everything went online. People experienced a lot of disruptions in the way they used to tackle their health and things like stuff like that. So, as an entrepreneur, what were the changes you experienced?
So we've had one of the busiest years since our inception, right? And it's been an unfortunate year in many ways, but there have been some silver linings to it, right? So it's been an unfortunate year because of people have lost lives, people lost jobs, so much morbidity in the world. But one of the things that's been a small positive, if that's the right way to look at it, is that people are talking about mental health a lot more,
Yes.
right? People actually, so this is a problem that's existed in the ecosystem forever, right? So India, in the last Lancet study that got published, India has approximately 197 million people with mental illness, right? That's the number of people who have mental illness in this country, right? And 95% of them never really get any help.
Okay.
So it's called a treatment gap, right? 95% of that 197 million people never really get any help. So and there are a lot of barriers. So there's access, stigma, quality of services, variable availability of services, lots of barriers to accessing these services, right? But what's happened in the last year is that everybody, from the Prime Minister's office to big Bollywood stars to big cricket stars, have talked about the importance of mental health, right? They've talked about the importance of Mansik Shakti. They've talked about the importance of Mansik Santulan. And what that has led to, and we've seen it. We work with a lot of companies, right? We work with a large number of employers, right? Who we provided a lot of pro bono support to during COVID, right? So we provided a lot of pro bono support to healthcare workers, to frontline workers, to companies that were trying to provide services over the COVID period. And what we saw is a sea change in the attitude of employers as well, that they are talking more positively and more proactively about how can I help my employees live healthier and happier lives, right? And so I think the one big thing we saw was this massive change in the conversation on mental health in a very positive manner. And what that translated into is, I mean, we've grown 3.5x from last year to this year in terms of numbers. I mean, any metric you want to look at, download numbers, sessions, volumes, clients, we've grown 3.5, 4x in the last year, right? And that is not because we're spending more money in marketing. That's just because people are more aware of a problem that's existed out there, and we have a solution that was always digital first, anyways. So that's really allowed people to access it in a seamless manner, and hopefully that's helped them in some small way during this difficult time from that perspective. So I really think the big change I've seen is people are talking more about mental health, right? People are more open to accessing mental health for themselves and for their colleagues and families. And we've seen as a company more people coming and accessing the services as individuals, as employer organizations, as educational institutions. We've seen a lot more of that happening in the last year from that perspective.
So I think mental health is like taken more seriously. Unlike developed countries, in India, still it is treated as a taboo. You visit so many doctors, like you visit your ophthalmologist or you visit your GP, but visiting a psychiatrist is like treated as something very weird here in India still. But unlike other, I mean, developed countries, they have huge lines. I mean, waiting patients for similar cough and cold, and similar waiting is there for these patients who want to undergo a psychiatric session with a psychiatrist. So I think COVID has brought that again. The second wave is there, so there is a lot of apprehension. There is a lot of fear. and it is difficult to tackle with this fear. Even employers need to think about the employees who are actually working in such conditions. It becomes more difficult to concentrate and to focus. And in such a case, I think you guys are really doing great job by actually emphasizing the fact that mental health is as important as your other spiritual, I mean, other the body health and the other parameters, what you always figure out, and what you always think that, okay, this should be my weight, or this should be my blood pressure. Even mental health should be treated as that way.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. And I think it's happening. I think one thing that I often hear is this conversation about stigma, right? And I think it's really changing, right?
Yes.
And not just not. I think it was changing before COVID as well. Right? There was some clear data coming out around social acceptance, and the Live Love Foundation with Deepika Padukone done some fantastic studies around looking at some of those numbers. And I think it's in the last year it's obviously changed exponentially. But I'll tell you one figure, one data point, right? If you think about the number of users we've been getting from metro and tier 1 cities, right? They're almost the same now as the number of people we get from tier 2 and below. So which is just telling us that the awareness is rising significantly and stigma is coming down. There's still a degree of public shaming that people are worried about. So digital really helps with that and the anonymity around it. But there's definitely a significant rise in the awareness, and people are less embarrassed as long as they can keep it confidential. They're less embarrassed to now have conversations about their mental health in that perspective. So we really think that that's changed dramatically in the last 2-3 years. I think that and I think it's really helped people really talking about it. People who we see as successful and look up to in different walks of life, really talking about it openly, about their own challenges openly, has really helped sort of bring that conversation out into the open significantly. And it's happening globally, and I think India is just seeing part of that phenomenon from that perspective. I think there's just more headroom to grow here because we've still got a long way to go in terms of our treatment gap from that perspective.
So, I mean, just as you mentioned, I would like to ask you here that we generally considered always these tier 2 cities or small cities to be having a calmer life, a more peaceful life, a life less of competition, where there is less stress. But would like to know that as you are getting queries from small places, also small towns also. So the degree of competition and the feeling is similar there. Yes, people are opening up. They are reaching out to psychiatrists. What is your take there?
So some of the mental health difficulties are a function of urbanization, hectic lifestyles, competition, and the things you've just mentioned, right? But there are other situations which evolve either biologically, right, where this or because of family circumstances or other challenges, right? And I went to medical school with a whole bunch of doctors who grew up in small towns and now go back and practice in small towns, right? And there are different sort of challenges when I speak to them about their patient groups. There's a different set of challenges that exist in that population, and I know all life has got challenges of their own, right? Yes, the different challenges. So if you look statistically, absolutely, urbanization is correlated with higher incidence of lots of mental illnesses. Absolutely right. But that's not to say that there is no existence of mental illness in sort of semi-urban areas or rural areas of India, right? From that perspective. So, and we are seeing that, right? We are seeing that people are evolving challenges. There are, as a simple example, it's very hard to have a private life in a small town, right? And so living life under that kind of scrutiny brings its own kind of pressures that people struggle with in that perspective. And we've seen that a lot in that context.
Definitely. So moving on to your startup, InnerR, like how is your product or service shaping up the future of Indian healthcare, benefiting the end user, because it is more about mental health. So InnerR, how it is like facilitating mental health services, and it is tackling with one of the most important issues which is coming post-COVID.
I think if I just break that down, right, I think we are on a journey right now to really work closely with our users to see what helps them most, right? We are very clear. We've learned through hundreds of thousands of conversations with our users over the last 5 years that users are really looking for curative solutions, right, that really help them. And so we are trying to work with partners to figure out how we develop those solutions and leverage technology to develop solutions that will help them treat mental illness, right? That's one part, right? The second part is users are really looking for a coordinated one-stop shop solution, right? So sometimes it's so hard to, it takes an average of 6 years for somebody to get to see a mental health professional from the first time they experience a symptom, right? So it's so hard already to get to see somebody. Now, once you're on that, once you've made that effort, once you've gone through that massive hump of getting there, you want to be able to access really high quality services and not and all in one place in that perspective. So that we've heard that very loudly and clearly from users, right? So as we're trying to figure out how we can sort of build a digital platform that can give them as much of a holistic experience as possible in and under one roof, either ourselves or working with partners from that perspective, right? So we know that digital works really well in a lot of cases. We also know digital doesn't solve the problem in every case. Some people need to be seen face to face. Some people need to be seen. Some people need to be seen more regularly and more intensively, and need more intensive inputs. So how do we bring all of that solution under one roof, or one digital roof at least? Either ourselves or working with partners is what we're trying to figure out as the next journey from that perspective, right? And we're getting a lot of positive feedback on that. And we, as I said, one we're looking at this as a business, right, and saying we're really growing and our numbers are really growing, but that is only exciting to a certain extent. What is really exciting for me personally is saying we are really able to help more and more users. And we are really beginning to see good outcomes. We're really beginning to see how people who really struggle with mental illness and mental health problems for a while are able to work with us and get to a better outcome and a better tomorrow for themselves and a better version of themselves. And I think that is for us the biggest sort of victory here. And I think we'll continue to evolve. We've just raised a recent large investment round. So we will continue to work with our investors and our partners to evolve our products and services to keep meeting the user needs so that we can keep delivering good outcomes. And that's the biggest thing for us, right? Everything else is full in place.
That's great to know. So one quick one on Amit. I mean, like you christened your organization as InnerR. So any specific reasons of that?
We debate the name a lot, even now. So the idea was this is time for yourself, right? This is really saying we are living in this crazy situation, this crazy world. How do we find time for ourselves, right? How do we find time to self care, to self heal, but also even when you're working with professionals, right? How do we create that time to work with professionals to get ourselves feeling better, to get ourselves feeling okay when we're not feeling okay, and how do we give ourselves permission to find that time? And so that was the idea behind the name, really, in some ways. And so yeah, but it's sometimes doesn't always connect with people as to why we put that name across. But that's the idea. The idea was to find time for yourself.
So thank you so much, Amit, for joining us and sharing your views and experience with our viewers today. I think as a dedicated healthcare media platform, through this initiative, we hope we are able to make people aware of the Indian healthcare startups that are creating a difference in the healthcare ecosystem. As I just mentioned this, I'll just like to state one more fact here that in India, there are about 3,225 health tech startups. And according to several investors, the healthcare market might have a worth of 370 billion, promising yields up to 35 to 40% by 2022. That's really a very promising figure. And Amit being one part of that, would be really, really happy to know that this industry is going to rise like this. So once
let me give it, before you give it, let me give you the number, right? So basically, last year, I think health tech globally raised $2.6 billion, right? And that's the number I saw at some publication. This year in the first quarter, we've raised $6.7 billion in health tech.
Yes.
Right, globally, right? So because people, I think one thing COVID has done for sure is people have begun to understand the importance of looking after themselves and their health. So I think all the power to the Indian health tech ecosystem, and I think the more it grows, the better, healthier lives we'll hopefully will lead.
And health is the best way. And we are coming back to that old saying that health is wealth. So investing in healthcare is not at all. Actually, it's the best thing to have, because healthier people can only make a healthy nation. So thanks once again, Amit, for joining us today at MediCircle, and all the best with InnerR, and hope you are able to cure and give relief to more and more patients who are coming, people who are coming for mental support and help, which is really needed. I think a lot of people are undergoing things, but they don't actually ever approach a psychiatrist, or they think that, okay, there's something might be wrong, but we should be coming out of that shell of ours. We should be talking very, very openly to people like you. Once again, thank you for joining us.